Do you get to the end of the week and wonder where all your time went? What if you could spend every week doing more or less exactly what you wanted to do? How different would your life be? Have you ever thought about what your ideal week would even look like? Not just wished you didn't have to do all the monotonous stuff that you do every day, but really thought about what it is that you actually want instead? What would you be doing every day? And maybe more importantly, how different would that be from your typical week right now? In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exercise of planning out your ideal week and how to visualize what it really looks like. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about some kind of dream world where you can sit on some tropical beach all day, sipping on whatever your beverage of choice might be. I'm talking about a real life where you still work, you take care of your family, handle all the various responsibilities that you've chosen to take on, and so on. But you do it in a way that you enjoy, with as little of the stuff that you don't enjoy as possible. Take some time to really think about what your typical week would look like. I suggest setting aside some time to focus on this and really think it through. Make a list of all the things that you would like to do in a typical week. If you want some ideas to get you started, here's a few. What time would you wake up? And what would your morning routine look like? Would you start with some exercise maybe, or meditation? Would you be getting your kids up and organized, ready for school, breakfast with your family, maybe coffee on the patio with your partner, watching the sunrise together? And what would you eat for breakfast? And then what would you be doing for work? And what time would that start? How about lunch? Would you make something for yourself, go out, maybe meet a friend or client or colleague? And what sort of breaks would you take through the day? Would you work a typical Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of schedule, or would you have something more flexible? Or maybe only work in the mornings or afternoons so that you could spend half your day on other things? What time would you finish work? What does your evening routine look like? Would you be doing something active outside, taking kids to their activities, spending quality time with your partner? Really think about who you would spend time with and when, too. Would you spend more time with your family during the week? Or maybe meet friends or your spouse or somebody else for lunch regularly? Would you volunteer somewhere maybe? Or work at night so that you can spend your days on the golf course or doing something else that you want to do? Don't worry about how you would ever find the time to do these things right now. The point of this exercise is just to figure out what would actually feel more aligned for you. It's not meant to make you feel bad about your current life either. Don't worry if there's a huge gap between your typical week right now and your ideal week. This is about figuring out what would make you happiest as a way to help you identify the misalignments that are in your life right now. Let's look at how you can visualize this ideal week on your calendar to help get an idea of what the big picture actually looks like. Okay, so I'm using Google Calendar for this example, but you could do this with any calendar app. At least every calendar app I've ever seen supports multiple calendars. So whether you're using Apple calendars or Google Calendar, something on Windows, a third-party app, pretty much every calendar app I've ever seen supports multiple calendars. So the starting point here, I've got some example things up on my week here, just on my standard calendars. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you start adding things to this ideal week is to hide the calendars that you have set up currently. In Google Calendars, it's just a matter of unchecking them on the left column here. Again, every other app I've used has a similar setup to this. Somewhere there's a spot where you can activate and deactivate your calendars. So you just want to turn off everything so that you're working with a blank slate. None of those calendar entries will go anywhere. They're all still saved. They're just not displaying right now. So the first step is to create a new calendar. In Google Calendars, you just click the plus beside other calendars here and create new calendar. And we'll just call this ideal week for now. And then once you've created that, you'll have a new calendar in your list for that week. So you want to make sure that that's checked so that you're seeing it. And now you can start building your week to be whatever you want it to be. The point of this is just to be able to sort of visualize what you want to spend your time on in the week, so you can create whatever you want on this blank slate. Let's just set up some examples here. Let's say I want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first half hour of the day is going to be just sort of a morning routine, getting up, getting organized, waking up, all that kind of stuff. So we'll create a new entry. Let's just call it morning routine. It's from 6 to 6:30. Make sure that the calendar that it's set for is the new one that you just created, in this case, the ideal week, and then save it. Now, if you want to have a consistent routine every day, you can just copy this from day to day. In this case, I'm holding down the Option key and dragging to the days that I want to move it to, and that'll make a copy of the item. And then let's say you want the next hour, 6:30 to 7:30 is going to be, let's say, exercise. Again, it's on the right calendar. And same thing, if you want to do this every day, we can copy it across. Now I'm just doing weekdays here, but you can move them to as many or as few. You can make every day different if you prefer it that way, or every day can be consistent. When I did this exercise originally, I created a pretty routine calendar for every day of the week, and slightly different on the weekends. Not because I want to spend my time exactly the same every day, but I found it was a little bit easier to start with sort of a consistent pattern across the days, and then go in and play with things as however I wanted to visualize. So let's say 7:30 to 8:30, that's breakfast. And then you can just keep working your way through here. The way that I did this when I first went through this exercise was I kind of filled in the routine stuff like these things. Morning routine, if I want to exercise every day, breakfast, those are probably similar times every day. I plugged in my lunch. So we'll do that here as well. And then gradually fill in all the blanks with the things that you want to slot in somewhere. So maybe you want to work for a couple of hours every morning, or let's say 4 days a week. You can put that in as work. And let's say you want to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with Wednesday as a bit more of a flex day. And then spend maybe 2 hours in the afternoon as well on those same days. And then you can just work your way through all the empty spots to gradually fill in the times that you would like to be doing things. Again, it's not about creating a really rigid routine that you want to follow every week. It's more about how to get it. It's more about fitting all the things that you want to do into your week and figuring out how much time you can actually afford to spend on things. If you plug in work from 9 to 5 every day, you only have, from 5 p.m. to 10 or 11 or whatever time it is to fit in all the other things that you want to do. So the idea here is to budget the time throughout the course of the week as best you can to what your ideal week would look like. So if you have kids that have sports or different activities at night through the week, you might have 2 or 3 nights that you're busy with that. So that's going to use up some of that time. You may want to spend a morning or an afternoon out doing something, running errands or golf or hiking or whatever it might be. That should get plugged in here as well, so that you can visualize exactly how much time you have. Because really what it comes down to is you can only do so much in the time that you have. Time is one of the few truly limited resources we have. There's no way to create more time aside from not doing something. The only way to make time for one thing is to not do something else in that same time. So the goal here is to go through the week, plan out a sort of a rough structure of what you would like, what would make you happy, what would give you time to do all the things you want to do, what would allow you to still work, to still meet your family commitments, all the things that are going on in your life without any of the things that are eating up your time now, but not effectively, or that you don't enjoy, or that are at the expense of something that would mean more or be more valuable to you, whatever it might be. Now, you can fill the time as tight or leave gaps wherever you want. When I did this exercise for myself, I pretty much slotted things in every minute of the day so that I could see sort of what the overall picture would look like and how much time I really had to put towards things. So if that suits your personality, if you're like me and you like to see everything laid out so that it's totally clear what you can and can't do, I found that was the easiest way for me. But you maybe prefer to have, empty blocks all over the place, kind of like this is right now, where you fit in the things that you know you have to do or that you want to do, but then leave lots of open space around it that you can just plan in the moment. However you do that is more up to your personality than anything. Now, once everything is sort of laid out like this, the other thing that I did that I found really helpful was to color code things so that I could sort of see what the different types of activities, how much time I had over the course of the week. So, exercise, we could color all those the same. Now, in Google Calendar, to do this, you just right-click on the item and you can choose from various colors here. Other calendar apps will have a slightly different way of doing this, but again, every calendar app I've ever used supports colors for the entries so that you can visualize things a little easier. So, I don't know, we'll call work tangerine. So you just go through and adjust everything. If you're a visual person like me, at least, you go through and adjust everything so that you can sort of see at a glance how much of your week is going towards the various parts of your life and the various responsibilities. And if something is way out of balance with something else, it's a lot more obvious when the things are color coded like this. The first time I did this, when I looked at my work days, I work a standard Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 type job. So a large part of my week was colored in as work. And so I was having to try and square that with this layout like this, where everything is split up the way I would like to spend my time. And so it's a matter of figuring out where the gaps were around those days that are a commitment for me that I don't have a choice about. My schedule is a little bit flexible in that I can take days here and there, but generally I have to work Monday to Friday. I don't have the option of working a weekend instead or anything like that to shift my time around. So I really had to figure out where things fit in around this while still getting exercise, while still having time to do things I enjoy, while still getting enough sleep, all the things that are kind of a given whether you like it or not. There's certain things that are in your life that are going to have to go on this calendar, and there's only so much flex. But the idea is to get everything out in one sheet, on one screen or one page like this, so that you can see where you're putting time that is misaligned with what you want to do, and figure out how to get from where you are today to where this ideal calendar is, or as close to it as possible. Like I say, this isn't meant to be a rigid thing. It's more just a way to visualize how out of alignment things are for you right now and exactly where those misalignments are. And then once you've done this, I'm not going to turn on my other calendars with things on them here for privacy reasons, obviously. But once you've done this with laid out your ideal calendar, you can check the other calendars on the side here, turn them back on, and see how much alignment there really is, and how much there isn't, probably. And that'll help to visualize where all the time is going if you're not already sure about that, so that you can start to chip away at some of those things that are stopping you from doing the things that you want to do or that you need to do or that would make you happy. Once you have your week sketched out, look at how it compares to a typical week right now. How aligned are they? If they're not very aligned, why is that? Are you doing things you don't really enjoy? If so, what would it take to change those things? Now, some things are obviously a lot harder to change than others. You might hate your job. It's a common misalignment for a lot of people, but you probably can't just walk away from it anytime you decide. But there are probably things you're doing that wouldn't take a lot of effort to change. Again, this is just a thought exercise at this point, so figure out the things that you would stop doing if you could, whether it's short term or something that would take longer to unwind from your life. Don't worry about how you can stop doing them. Just identify the stuff that you would rather not be doing. Maybe you have too many outside commitments. What are they holding you back from doing? Or maybe it's something like TV or video games at night. They're fun in the moment, but if they keep you up so late that you're always tired the next morning, they probably aren't helping. What about the things that are aligned with your ideal week? What did you do to get there? Did you intentionally create time for those things, or did you just sort of fall into doing them? And did you choose them over something else that maybe wasn't as aligned for you? Figuring out where you're already pretty happy with your life and where you're not is the first step. Thinking about those things more intentionally, it will help you focus on the areas that you're not very happy with right now. Those are the things that you need to work on changing first. Now, some might be easy to fix, and that's the first things to start with. If you start with the easy wins, you'll see a bigger difference right away. And those will free up time that you can spend on things that you enjoy, even if it's only just a few minutes here and there. Start thinking about the bigger long-term changes too. What do you need to do to bridge the gap from where you are right now to where you want to be? Now, I'm not here to say this is an easy process. You just have to look at this and it'll magically happen. It's a lot easier to get into routines you don't enjoy than it is to get yourself back out of them. And it's not about aiming for some perfect life where you don't have to do anything that you don't enjoy. But it's about figuring out what feels right for you and designing your life in a way that has more of that and less of the things that don't feel so good. Remember, exactly the same amount of time is going to pass whether you enjoy the way you're spending it or not. How would you rather look back on the next year or 5 years, 10 years, or maybe beyond? With regret for spending too much time on all these things that you don't enjoy, or satisfaction knowing that you got the most out of those years as possible? Thanks for watching. If you're new here, my name's John. I did this exercise a couple of years ago and I realized just how mismatched a lot of the things in my typical week were from what my ideal life is. So I'm working on getting rid of as many of those misalignments as possible, and I'm sharing what I learn along the way. If something in this video struck a chord for you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one.